Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3694 and today's date is July 26, 2025, and the title of the episode is The Monetary Regime That Ruled the World is Dying Slowly. Trump is shutting it down. Let me ask you a question. Are you looking to shed some pounds for this summer? Well, a recent study found nearly half of patients following popular weight loss trends quit within a year, often used lower than prescribed doses and ultimately lost less weight than they were led to believe. This is why I use this secret amazing new product, and I'm obsessed with the results. It is designed to naturally support my body's own GLP-1 production and boost levels by over 50% without drugs, prescriptions, or needles. It promotes the feeling of fullness, reduced cravings, reduced my hunger hormones, helps me lose fat instead of muscle, and supports healthy blood sugar levels. Summer is here. It's time to get that beach body ready. Grab yourself a bottle of GLP-1 now to save up to 44% only at trimwithx22.com. Plus, you also get 2 free ebooks titled The 3-Week Diet and 53 Fat-Burning Smoothies and Milkshakes. Once again, this offer is only available at trimwithx22.com. That is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see that Trump now, he is exposing the entire Federal Reserve system. He's exposing it to we the people, and the people now are starting to understand what fiat currency is. People are starting to understand what the Fed does. People are starting to realize that the Fed has no idea what they're doing. And I do believe along the way, Trump and the Patriots, what they're going to do is they're going to continually play on this, because eventually what's going to happen is the entire Federal Reserve system is going to be shut down. And the only way for the people to accept the shutdown of the Federal Reserve and have it restructured probably into the Treasury is you need to show the people every single day that the Fed is not benefiting the people. It has no idea what it's really doing. Actually, it does have an idea what it's doing. Basically, what they're doing is they're benefiting the elite, benefiting themselves, and actually enslaving the people. And this is what people are going to learn as time goes on. Just like people learned that the entire push to go into solar and wind and electric vehicles was not going to benefit them whatsoever. Why do you think people rejected this along the way? Because again, it sounds great in theory. It sounds fantastic. You know, let's save the environment. Let's go to EVs. Let's save the world. And it sounds fantastic. But again, countries cannot operate. You can't operate. And electric vehicles, they don't work the way they're advertised. And people should have a choice in if they want a gas-powered car or if they want an electric vehicle. I'm not saying electric vehicles are bad, but again, you should have a choice. And what's very interesting is that the used electric cars, they lose massive value. Top models currently lose up to 40% in their first year. So when you buy these electric cars and you keep it for maybe 2-3 years, they lose all their value, which means probably the lease prices aren't that great. And if you finance it or you purchase the vehicle, it's when you go to sell it, it's going to be worth absolutely nothing, especially if you have to replace the batteries. Those are very, very expensive. And you can see at this point in time, this entire push to mandate these cars has come to an end. And you could see that, again, this had nothing to do with benefiting ourselves, making the world nice. This was about the elite, the deep state players controlling the people of this world. And now they don't have the ability to do this. And you can see that Trump now is turning everything around. Remember, to build this economy up, to shift us away from the central bank system, to bring manufacturing back to this country, we need skilled workers. And this is why Trump is using Pell Grants to train people in the trades, because we need skilled workers. And anyone that's coming into this country, they also need to be skilled workers if they're going to get a visa. And it looks like the Trump administration, they will make changes to the visa system for skilled workers, and they're going to make the test a little bit more difficult. Joseph Edlow said the following: the test as it laid out right now, it's not very difficult. It's very easy, kind of memorize the answers, and you're able to get through the test very, very easily. So during the first Trump administration, they instituted a version of the test, and they're going to be going back to that version. Biden pretty much rolled it back and made it a lot easier. So Trump, he's switching it up once again to bring in the best of the best. And by doing this, we'll be able to bring back a lot of these corporations. We'll be able to bring back a lot of the manufacturers and those individuals that are getting trained in the trades. They will also assist with the golden age. And we can see this is the direction that we are now heading in. And what's very interesting is that when Trump visited the Federal Reserve, I think people are starting to realize that the Federal Reserve, if they can't control their renovations and they don't know, how to budget, and they're going way over budget, the question, of course, is, wait a minute, if the Fed can't do any of this, how are they doing this for the country? And I think this pretty much showed the people of this country that maybe we should really take a deep dive into the Fed and start to look at the Fed to see exactly what they're doing. Do they know what they're doing? Or is it just one gigantic criminal enterprise, just like everything else the deep state has set up? And what's very interesting, every day that passes, we see that the economy is improving, it's getting better, and inflation is declining. The Gobesia letter on X put this out and said, is CPI inflation set for another decline? The new tenant rent index fell by negative 9.3% year on year in the second quarter of 2025, marking the largest drop on record. This follows a negative 2.2% year on year decline in the first quarter of 2025. This index is viewed as a leading indicator for the CPI shelter component, which makes up approximately 30% of the core CPI. This drop could point to further disinflation in shelter prices and the overall CPI index. And as the inflation is brought to a place where people don't see it rising anymore, and we see certain prices coming down a little bit because of energy costs and other things, but you have to remember, inflation really never goes away because it's the devaluation of the currency. Yes, you can basically counter it with other methods, but as people feel more and more comfortable and they have more and more money in their pocket, they realize that Trump's plan is definitely working. And Trump's plan eventually is to get rid of the old money system. You know what's interesting? Most investments today feel like second jobs in disguise. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. You deserve a strategy that builds wealth without sacrificing your time, sanity, or freedom. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Gold doesn't demand your attention. It doesn't crash overnight. It doesn't care who's trending on Twitter. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of investors just like you, people who want both profit and peace of mind, secure their future with real physical gold. There's a reason smart investors are going back to the basics, choosing the only asset trusted by civilizations for over 5,000 years. Gold offers freedom and peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Visit x22gold.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's x22gold.com. Don't invest in a second job. Invest in your freedom. And here's a bonus for you. Get rewarded for getting started. Open a qualified account at x22gold.com and they'll send you 2 5-ounce Silver America, the beautiful coins, free. That is x22gold.com, or just click the link in the description. Once upon a time, the Federal Reserve operated like a priesthood, cloaked in mystery, speaking in riddles and quietly pulling the levers of the most powerful monetary system on earth. Nobody cared. Nobody needed to care. The Fed used to operate in the shadows. Now, it's a clown show on center stage. And basically, the era of the Federal Reserve, it is over. Because to understand Bitcoin, to understand gold and silver, to understand alternative currency, you have to understand fiat money. So Bitcoin, yes, it's an alternative currency, but as people start to learn about Bitcoin, they start to learn that, wait a minute, the fiat currency is losing value every single day. And then as people learn about Bitcoin, they also learn about gold. So they start to learn and understand fiat currency. And this is something I do believe that the good guys set up so you would understand what is really going on. And now that we're in 2025, I think regular people are starting to get it. And those people that really didn't believe in Bitcoin, people didn't really look at gold, I think they're starting to look at this. And we have perfect examples. I mean, Look where Bitcoin is going today. And look, we have Costco selling 1-ounce gold bars. When did you ever see that before? The only reason that would happen is if people start to understand that, wait a minute, gold hedges against the falling fiat currency. They understand the Fed's tools are blunt, its logic is circular, and its credibility is paper thin. They've watched as inflation ravaged their savings while Jerome Powell told them, don't worry about it, it's all transitory, it's just going to disappear. They watched Janet Yellen say that, hey, don't worry about anything. We're not going to see inflation. Don't worry about the debt. Everything is fine. People watch interest rates jerked around like a marionette strings and bond markets twisted in grotesque shapes by $9 trillion on the Fed's balance sheet. In the past, the Fed didn't need to be credible. It just needed to be confusing. Today, the veil is gone. The Fed thinks it's still steering the ship, but the passengers have read the manual and are bailing out in lifeboats. The monetary regime that ruled the world since 1970, actually, if you really go back to 1913, it's dying. It's dying slowly. But guess what? It's starting to pick up speed. And now people are starting to realize that this system that we've been in for such a long time, it's one gigantic illusion. And this illusion has been enslaving the people for a very, very long time. And people are starting to realize that we need to break free of this illusion. And I do believe it's going to get worse and worse for the Federal Reserve as we move forward. Because think about what Trump is doing right now. As he builds the parallel economy, as he builds a new system. And remember, when the central bank came into existence in 1913, and we fast forward all the way to 1971, they were preparing and they were getting ready to bring us into a new system, their system. This is why they planned it all out with the Middle East. This is why they said, okay, you produce the oil, we'll protect you with the military, but you have to sell the oil using the dollar. That was their plan in the 60s. They set everything up. They developed a parallel economy. And most of the people had no idea what was going on. I think probably almost the majority of the people had no idea what was going on. You didn't have social media or anything back then. You were just listening to the fake news. And when it was time for them to switch from the system that we were in, the gold standard system, where the currency was backed by gold, they flipped the switch. We moved over to the fiat system, and once we did that, the entire system pretty much broke down. Many of the countries, they were in deep, deep recessions, even depressions. They had blackouts. Here in this country, as we made the switch, people couldn't get gas for their cars, couldn't find jobs. Inflation was completely out of control. But you have to remember, during this period of time, it was like a drug. Wait a minute, my salary doubled? Wait a minute, my house doubled? Yes, it felt good. Yes, interest rates were very, very high. But as time went on, the fiat system breaks down. Trump is doing the same thing right now. He's created a parallel system. It's a tariff system. It's an energy system. It's a gold card system. It's a technology system. And he's created a system where he has an account separate and apart from the Federal Reserve, where he is now building up income. This income is going to compete with the Federal Reserve income. The Federal Reserve gets their income from where? From we, the people. Everything that we do, not just the money that we borrow, but every transaction, everything that happens, the Federal Reserve makes out. Because that's the way it was designed. It was designed to take everything from this country. It's almost like a black hole if you really think about it. And once all the money goes through the black hole, it's distributed to the elite and everyone else. So Trump, he's creating this parallel system to compete against the Federal Reserve. And as he builds the system and as it gets stronger and stronger and stronger, he can do many, many different things. And as it gets stronger, he weans us off of the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve dies a slow death. Because eventually what's going to happen is we will no longer need the Federal Reserve. We will no longer borrow from the Federal Reserve. Trump will shift everything and the market will take care of the interest rates. The Fed will not. The Fed will lose control over controlling the market. The Fed will lose control over the manipulation of gold and silver. The Fed will lose control over everything. And as Trump deregulates everything, more power is going to be transferred to his system. And as he removes people's taxes, more power is going to be shifted to we the people. And you could see that this is what we are witnessing right now. Actually, people are going to look back in time and they're going to see the story of when Trump saved the country and destroyed the Federal Reserve. Just like when we look back in time and we see what Andrew Jackson did with the Federal Reserve. Just like when we look back in time when we see what Congress did with the first central bank, where they decided not to renew the charter. We're going to look back and people are going to say that Trump, he absolutely destroyed the third central bank system in this country and returned the power to the people. And the country during that period of time entered a golden age, a new renaissance where the infrastructure was improved. Technology was improved. The way of life was improved. And people are going to look back at this and they're going to say, wow, how didn't the people see it back then? Almost like when you look back at World War II with Nazi Germany, people go, how didn't these people know what was going on? How didn't they realize what was happening in Germany? People are going to do the same thing. Like, how didn't people know that COVID wasn't what they say it was? How didn't they know it was a pandemic? I mean, didn't they realize that masks didn't work? I mean, this is what people are going to say. Because when you look back in time, it's much easier to see what happened. And I do believe Trump now is in the process of shifting everything. And he's shutting down the Federal Reserve. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.